Republicans in Ohio are now looking to pass a bill that would put severe penalties on the women who get abortions, or as well as the doctors who perform them. Now, the bill, according to WOSU, called HB 565, was introduced back in March and would allow criminal charges to be filed against both a woman seeking an abortion and the doctor who provided it for her. The bill would also classify a fetus as an unborn human under Ohio's criminal code for regarding homicide. So, now the result of that, of course, would make abortion punishable by life in prison or give people the death penalty. Because nothing says we're pro-life than giving people the death penalty. Murder is wrong. That's why we will now murder you. Now, of course, Ohio has already passed an anti-abortion measure that is deeply draconian. Now, according to that, the bill was approved on Thursday. If an abortion is performed on a fetus that registered as a heartbeat, it will result in a fifth-degree felony, which is punishable in Ohio by 1 year in prison or a $2,500 fine. Now, in that bill, there are no exceptions for rape or incest, or if the mother's life is in danger. So, criminal penalties for abortion for any reason. You get raped? Well, you have to have the rapist child, or else you're going to get in trouble. Or else you're going to get put in prison. Or a $2,500 fine. And if this other law passes, the one that got recently put up, well, then you could possibly go to prison for life or get the death penalty. Well, okay, what about complications for birth? Well, here's Ohio saying, we don't care. You must have that baby. It doesn't matter if in that situation, which is very likely that the fetus will also die during those complications of childbirth, they're saying, we don't care. We would rather have both of you die having that baby. We are so pro-life. We're so pro-life it kills. Now, naturally, of course, there has been a lot of opposition. NARO, Pro-Choice Ohio, and Planned Parenthood, of course, are going after the bill. Here you have NARO Ohio's Jamie Miracle saying, quote, "This could criminalize women who have miscarriages that might seem suspicious to somebody, or could criminalize in vitro fertilization procedures that might end up with an embryo." Now, look, think about all the fertilized eggs, by the way, that are lost during menstruation or are reabsorbed in the body that don't attach, right? Women don't know that they're pregnant half the time that happens. And it basically is the body terminating the pregnancy itself. Yes, the human female body does its own abortions. And look, they don't even know it. And yet, they are, or will be, according to Ohio law, they would be human beings. They would be considered human beings. So what, we're going to put women to death for an egg not attaching to the uterus? Maybe if they find out. Look, this is an example of people making laws and legislation based on complete ignorance. Now, I'm sure most of you are thinking, yeah, okay, look, they passed this law, but it's illegal. Roe v. Wade, right? Well, you're right. But unfortunately, the whole point of this bill being passed at this time is to let it get to the Supreme Court. And look, we have a conservative Supreme Court thanks to the election of Donald Trump. Donald Trump put up two justices, Justice Neil Gorsuch and Justice Brett Kavanaugh, who have been confirmed. They are deeply conservative and pro-life. So that's the whole point. In fact, I'm going to go to a quote here from the sponsor of the bill, who basically admits that, yeah, I want this to go to the Supreme Court. Let's do this. In an interview on Friday, she said it was crafted specifically to challenge the 45-year-old Supreme Court decision that made abortion a constitutional right. She said, "We believe Ohio is best positioned to send this to the circuit courts and to the federal Supreme Court." She said she was confident the bill would then become law by the end of the year so that they could start the process. Now look, Both the House and the Senate have a Republican-dominated veto-proof majority. So even if Governor Kasich decides to veto it, they can overrule him and send this to the Supreme Court, where, of course, it will wind its way through the courts and eventually make it to the Supreme Court. If they decide to take it up, well, then here we go. Look, Trump himself said one of his litmus tests for putting a Supreme Court justice on the court was being against Roe v. Wade. So if this actually happens, if enough people in the Ohio legislature, which is deeply conservative, are in favor of this and overrule a governor's veto, who knows? In a couple of years, we may end up seeing the Supreme Court put Roe v. Wade back on trial. And who knows where it goes from here? This is disastrous. So this is how they're going to try to take your abortion rights. And it is starting right here, right now. If you are not concerned, if you are not worried, you should be. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.